Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Alcoholic, my name is Evan. Hi. I didn't know that I was... How long am I doing this for? Okay, great. This is all planned out, Bandy. God, now I feel like a jerk for being... It's you guys. Thank you very much. It's Marcia for asking me to speak. And there's a real speaker somewhere in traffic. Man, what a rush to be able to share with you guys on a cake thing. This is terrific. I'm grateful. I'm scared, but that's nothing new. That's how I know that I'm in the right place. I'm nervous, so I know I'm an alcoholic. What I'm scared of is that you're judging me. That's what I'm scared of. But I know from this program that if you're judging me, that that you have work to do. And that it's my job to help you bottom out on that behavior. So judge on. I love this program, man. That took a long time. I have to think through those things like that today, and I'm thanks to you people, I'm able to think through the insanity in my head, and not act on my feelings of fear, and not act on those emotions that I've had a lot of misinformation in my life over the years, as we all have, I guess, and I guess the format, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, this is my experience. I'm not speaking for AA. AA is this book here. That's AA. I'm just a guy who bought a copy and read it as often as I can. And I did buy a copy. The first time I was 12-stepped, I was in a nightclub, and a guy came up and he says, have you thought about, Alcoholics Anonymous? And I said, no, I haven't thought about that. And he showed up a couple nights later, and he had a big book, and he handed it to me. He says, I think you should probably read this. And I said, wow, thanks very much. And he said, that's $5. And that made a difference to me, that it was $5. This guy wasn't pushing it on me. This wasn't a free brochure. This wasn't any kind of, join us in our little group. It's $5. You need this. Get $5, and then and that was an important principle that's what struck me. It took me a while. I had the book before I quit. What it was like. My life story. I could go on my life story there's about 30 films, about 14 novels in my life story, and I'm barely just getting a grasp on what it all means. There were so many people and so much insanity. I understand I was born in Los Angeles, and my father kidnapped me when I was 2 because my mother was alcoholic. And he drove to Utah, which is where he ran out of money, and to save me from being an alcoholic. And Mom came after us, and she was alcoholic, full-blown by the time she found us and everything, and she wound up very ill, and I didn't know her story growing up. I barely remember those days. I was 5, 6 years old, and I remember I have images of her and visitation and things. Dad remarried. I grew up in Idaho, small mining town in Idaho, and very small, no self-esteem, very small mining town. They call it the Silver Valley, and there's nothing silver about it. It's a valley between 2 mountain passes where they've mined silver for the last, I don't know, probably 100 years, and no emotional ideas get into the valley, none get out. They're in an emotional inversion in the valley there. And to this day, it's still there. It's still stuck there, you know. Nothing comes, nothing goes, and I don't know how I got out. I guess step-family helped. My stepbrother, the older stepbrother, saw that I was having some trouble. I started using and drinking when I was in junior high school. And I loved it. Immediately, it was like to blackout, right away. The first drunk to blackout. And I had no self-esteem. I quit growing. It was just, I hated myself because I had no identity. I was this young kid in this new family of stepbrothers and stepmom, and there was a whole family, and I was just Dad's luggage who married into this family. And the feelings that came up from that were that I don't deserve any of this, and I couldn't get any attention, and these aren't things that made me drink. These are just the emotions I went through that helped compound my drinking. When I found alcohol, it was a tremendous thing. It was, I'm okay. I'm okay. And I, of course, had no tools to interact. So it was just, I'm okay, and I'm the blacked out guy in the tub. That's who I am. That was my identity. It became my identity. I'm the guy, you know, I rock. You know, that was the thing. I rock when I drink, you know. And it's like, I'm in junior high. It's like, oh, he's the fellow that's blacked out, yeah. And that became my thing. I mean, that just became part of, that was how to party. And we experimented with drugs, with any kind of escape growing up there. And I did get to go to college. I had no idea who my blood relatives were. I knew my dad, but I didn't know the rest of my family. I knew my mother was probably somewhere, and he always said, oh, you know, she didn't take care of you and this and that, and don't worry about it. I had no clue who she was, where she was, and not in contact. I know Dad had sons by previous marriages, and I didn't know where they were. I would ask Dad, and he'd say, oh, I've lost touch with them. I feel pretty bad about it. And Dad, he was a good guy. He just thought that's what you do. You move, you know. Geographics, he wasn't a practicing alcoholic, but geographics were a very valid way of handling life for Dad, and that's what we did. And moved a lot, moved around a lot. You know, Idaho is where we wound up. We hit a number of stops getting there, but my stepbrothers and stepfamily, they saw I was no self-esteem, and they helped me learn how to build cars, how to work on old cars, and how to do stuff like that, and that helped out quite a bit. And we would try the Boy Scouts, you know, and I did the Boy Scouts, which, you know, you think, what's this? It's babysitting, you know, and this isn't right, and I don't know what this is, and I kept doing it. In Idaho, the Boy Scouts are pretty serious, you know. That's, I mean, you know, a Scoutmaster packs a gun. These aren't day hikes, man. There's, you know, look, a mountain lion, you know, and everybody's crying, and the Scoutmaster, I mean, that's serious scouting, you know. That's a fellowship when they're. And I appreciate today. I appreciate the Boy Scouts more than anybody could ever know. You know. Because I had to join. You join, man. We're out in the woods. We're 40 miles from nowhere, and there's, you know, animals. It's like, I'm going to keep up with everybody. You know? And that was the first time I joined anything, and it felt pretty good, you know. And I mean, I learned something about interacting with people there. I learned, it was sort of my first real fellowship of joining. I got into college, and of course, I don't know how I got into college. But I did it. I went to Washington State farm school, agricultural school, and of course it was drink. You know, the Idaho border from Washington State was 7 miles, and drinking age was 18 in Idaho, so we had to get 7 miles to drink, and we would do anything to get those 7 miles, man. Every time we could, we'd go 7. Man, it was the most dangerous stretch of road in the country. On weekends, actually, very, very high mortality rate there. But I got through college, and I wound up in I don't like to work, you know. That was basically what came out of it. No self-esteem. I hate working. I'm lazy. God, I'm lazy. I came out of there going, well, somebody's going to discover once and for all just how neglected I've been. Without my mom and my family, no one's told me, and I'm sure there's like this is all a joke. I'm sure at the end I get out of college, somebody's going to come knock on the door and go, the Queen of England called. She had a son a number of years ago, and we've hunted you down, you know. I really had a belief in my heart that I was like royalty displaced somehow, you know, that I'd been left on a bus. There's some mistake, you know, because this is just horrible, you know. And I really was very unhappy, you know, the neglect. You know, we moved into this family and Dad's not looking after. It was just, everybody was moving too much. And what about me, you know, me. And maybe there was a seed of that before when I was born. But that's what I remember as being the main feeling through those years was that I just wasn't getting enough attention. People really didn't realize who I was, and so I drank those sorrows. I got into performing to sort of compensate for that. I figured, that's it. I'll get a degree in acting. That's it. I'm supposed to be a big movie star. That's what they're waiting for. They're waiting to give me the Academy Award. Then the Queen's going to call, you know. So I got in and studied acting. I said, well, I better be ready, and I worked on that. Anyway, I became a performer. I don't want to get into it. This is, the life story is so bizarre. I wound up in San Francisco a number of years. I guess I was 22, 23 when I got out of college, doing stand-up comedy because I don't know, it was just immediate, they love me. You know, if I get a laugh. When you don't, it's horrible, you know. When you're not doing well, wow, they don't like you at all. You think, you know, and so it's a pressure job doing the stand-up. I knew there was something there though that would work, and I was doing that. I started getting work in nightclubs doing that, which is a great job. It's part-time. You get free alcohol. They buy your drinks. The drugs are pretty cheap, and good part-time job that pays pretty well. And I started getting work, and I started drinking a lot. I'm in nightclubs every night, and you're never enough. You know, show business, it's all the business. How much you make is who you are. You know, you personalize that kind of thing, and it's like, gosh, if it's a slow month, it's like, I'm really a shitty human being in August, and hey, that's just a slow month, you know. And I would drink to cover those things. I drank a lot, and it became my solution what I wanted. Success was finding my dream woman, I would move in with women, and I would make some money, but I could never, there was never any coming home, and I would, I depended on women. I was very, a mom, God, get that mom together, the ones I'd had just weren't there, and the perfect woman for me was a good Irish Catholic nurse, turned out to be my sort of pattern for the dream woman, who really had a good streak of codependent take care of Evan in her. And I would, do the poor me thing at the end of the bar, and I was so sly. I hung out in a bar. It was a gay bar, and I was the only straight guy in it. And of course, it was in the neighborhood, and everybody knew I was straight. I'm straight. No, thank you. After a number of proposals, no, I'm straight. And the thing that was great about it was a neighborhood bar, and every time a woman came in, it was like they'd all just go, "Oh, he's down here," Shooting fish in a barrel, man. So, that's how I would meet. That's how I would meet girls, and that's how I formed relationships with women. I would move in, They would go, "Oh, I like him." If they came back to the bar a couple times, it was like, "Wow, okay, we've got a committed thing happening here." And I would move in because I couldn't keep an apartment, geez. And the only thing wrong with those relationships is none of those women had ever run a detox before, and really, that was the problem in all the relationships is, damn it, we have to detox him again. That's the thing, And it's like, if you drink again, don't come home. I don't want that, It's like, oh, and it was so, and that's how oh man, it's just in and out of detoxes, man, in and out. Anyway, somebody got it together, and I got into a treatment program at one point for a 28-day program, but it was closing down. That was very funny. It was Raleigh Hills calls to you. At some insurance company, a friend of mine had a company and put me on as like a manager of his company so I could get the insurance or something. And I got in. And there were only it was so sad, the clinic was closing, so they had 29 beds or 30 beds, and there were only 4 of us in there at the time. And it was like the longest month of your life. They do group therapy about every half hour in those places. And there's only 4 of us, and we were running out of material about every day. There was no support, I'm Tad. Hi, Tad. I talked to my mother and said, "Oh, not your mom shit again," We go round and around, and we're coming at the counselors, man. They didn't stand a chance. "Well, what about you?" Because a bunch of angry drunks with about a week. "Yeah, well, what's your story?" Oh, it was just hell, And I would get about 6 months sober, and then I would get booked. I decided, well, now I can work show business again. And I was like the biggest comeback king in show business, They go, "Oh, Evan's drunk again. He's in detox." "Oh, really? Well, that's too bad, And I guess he's out of it, And they'd pull dates, and that's it. Well, he won't be playing here and there. And at 6 months, I'd get sober a month later. It's like, "I'm back. He's back," I lived, and it was like, wow. And I can't tell you how many things. In San Francisco, it's a small world, but it's like they really nurture their comedy stars. So there'd be press, you get the press. "He's recovering," Anyway, I could get ego into it, I would. And I was like, 6 months was the peak time I could get, man, over and over for about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. I couldn't get more than 6 months because the glamour wears off about 6 months, People start taking for granted, "Oh, it's him again," You're not, it's hard you're not the baby Jesus at 6 months, So I went in and out, and detoxes, I hit every detox in the Bay Area up there. I do San Mateo. I would go to the rich counties because they had nice detox, real nice, carpeting, and it was very lovely. And It was very nice, and you'd have to have somebody testify that you lived in that county, you know. And so well, who do we know lives in San Mateo? And I would do that, and then San Rafael, you know, Marin, you know. Anyway, I could, you know, get into a nice detail. I'm not going to Ozanam. And so, I'm not. Oh, it's like a prison, you know, and they don't know who I am. I bought them, and I did the woman I was living with at the time dropped me at Ozanam one time, which is a large barn downtown. It's street detox. And some of you may have been there, but it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. These people got it. The beds are like this wide, you know, and just barely long enough. And it's dark, and it's all this wood, you know, and it's a huge place. It's like a jail yard, prison yard, you know, and I'm coming off a nightclub party scene, you know, and they take all your valuables and put them in a cage, in a chain link cage, and there's a little guy in there going, "Welcome, Nazana." You know? And I'm still sort of out of it. I lay down on one of the cots, and she leaves, and I come to after about an hour, and it's like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it, you know, the clumps of people like hanging out, and it's like gangs, you know, and I'm like, you know, and I'm wearing some bogus clothes I think are cool, you know, and like, oh man, I don't look needy at all, you know, they're gonna kill me. And I went to the guy in the cage and go, I can't get sober here, you know, I can't quit. And he said to me a phrase which still with me today, Evan, I can let you out, but you're just postponing the inevitable. You are postponing the inevitable. And I don't know what it was, but that rang so true to me. Being in that room and seeing that, it's inevitable. I wound up, I had to go out on one more run, and I wound up in Montana in a Holiday Inn in Billings, and couldn't get out of the hotel. And then I couldn't get the cab driver. I couldn't get a cab when I finally, okay, I'm getting out of here. And I couldn't get a cab. And I finally got a cab, and I couldn't get him to go to the airport. And it was the hardest thing in my life to get home. And I had my last drink on May 8th, 1986, on the back steps of a detox in San Rafael, a nice one. And I had people gather around me, loving people in this program who came and got me out of that detox. We went right to meetings. And I quit show business. I said, I'm out. That's just ego. The only reason I'm doing it is ego. I saw something dawn on me. Ego is my problem. Being great is my problem. Impressing you. I can't do that. I have to. I don't care if I'm picking up litter on a beach. I don't care what I do for a living. I'm going to get sober. It just got to be the same old over and over. My life was a nightmare, and I had nothing, and just 24 hours a day. I had a great part-time job, paid great money, and I couldn't even keep it together and have a window of clarity for an hour a day. That's an hour a day. That was the job. What dream? I got an hour a day job, and I can't even show up for that. I'm like, I get up there and I can't say the joke. I couldn't talk. They hate that when you show up in Montana and you can't say the joke. Because there isn't a lot of backup comedians in Montana. But I was very lucky. I got a sponsor right away. I had like 2 sponsors, big, huge guys. And man, they sort of, it took me everywhere, and they were loving guys. And I moved out of my relationship I was in right away. She was the bartender, too. I had to quit everything. It was women. I was addicted to having mom there. I was addicted to, and she wanted me drunk. She couldn't help it. It was very convenient having me loaded. I was this humorous houseboy, I was, he's drunk again. How quaint. Wash the car, And I mean, God bless the women that lived with me when I drank, you know. And I had to move out of there, and it took a lot. That was probably the hardest thing I ever did. When I got sober, so many things in sobriety have happened. I want to talk about sobriety a bit. 6 months when I got sober, my father was dying of cancer. He'd been diagnosed with liver cancer, and he said he had told me, don't come home unless you're 6 months sober. That's it, because I'd bottomed out with the family too, and so I had to wait till I was 6 months sober. And I went home, and he was still alive. It was around Christmas that year, and gave him a chip, 6-month chip, you know. And I got to spend time, and it was like he waited, you know. And that was my first spiritual awakening, was the idea my father waited, and the dignity with which he died. And the love was phenomenal. It was a spiritual awakening for me that I got sober. What I had missed by drinking in my relationship with him. I saw his pain. He carried a lot of secrets about my mother and my past to his grave. And in sobriety and after his death, I came back and I decided I might be able to perform again or do my job again. I had another day job doing just labor for the first 6 months. I thought, well, maybe I could perform again if I can see it as a service. And I was lucky enough to, if I can perform or if I do have a job, it's only because I see it as a form of service to my employers. I came back to San Francisco, started working again. I got a call at one club. A brother called me at a club, and he said, how much do you know about your family? And I said, not much. I said, is this Chuck or Jerry? And he said, it's Jerry. And it was my mother's son by her first marriage. And he had been looking for me for 20 years. I got to meet Jerry. I went to Utah and met him. And he told me a story. He had my birth certificate. He had the story of my mother, who died. She spent the last years after losing me in the Utah mental hospital, which is what they did with people who had alcoholism then. She died of complications from her alcoholism, epilepsy, various disorders. To find out that she was a dancer and a performer in LA and was a choreographer for the June Taylor dancers, that she was very talented, that she had made her own living in LA for a long time supporting him, that she had been very successful, and the alcohol had brought her down to that point. Was just an amazing story. I got to meet Jerry, and I've got to learn to be a brother to him in sobriety, which is just amazing. And he doesn't look anything like me, but his sons look exactly like me. And one of them, 9 months ago, called me and told me because his Uncle Evan was such a good example that he had started going to AA meetings, and that he has, I think, 10 months now, and he's 20. Chris is 20. That's an incredible blessing. I started looking for, I knew my dad had another son. I started looking for him, and I found him in LA. Another big brother, Chuck. And Chuck and I hadn't seen each other in 28 years. And his mother, I remembered his mother, who I'd seen and known, and I got to get together with Chuck, and we've become brothers over the last 3 or 4 years. That's a phenomenal gift. Chuck just had he and his wife just had a baby. I got to go to his wedding and be a part of the wedding party and ride in the limo with him, and we're brothers, man. We're blood brothers. God, I can't tell you what it's like to have family that's yours, and they love me. I mean, they respect me. As I'm not a drunk. I'm not the the lunatic drunk artist guy. I'm somebody they look up to and admire, and that's a phenomenal gift of this program. I got family that loves me. My step family now. I was just a dead weight for them. I was the crazy drunk kid. There was a theater and ego, and now they my grandmother, their grandmother came sick in Cape Cod 2 weeks ago. And I said, I'm going back. I'm gonna go hang out with Gram. She's 98. And I said, I'm gonna go hang out with her. She's my good friend. Because when I was 7 and moved into the family, Gram had played cards with me. She'd been there for me. She'd been my best buddy. She'd been one of the people who'd hung out with me when I was the youngest. And I said, I'm going back. I don't care about anybody else. And I said, I have some mileage if anybody else wants to fly back, you know. And the Step family jumped on it, you know. And they showed up. And they were like, wow, the drunk kid pulled this together. And it was incredible, you know. And Grandma's 98. She's my grandma too. I mean, I have a family, man. I have people I love dearly. That's the way. I'm so lucky. I'm part of a family. It's all these gifts. They're phenomenal. They astound me that I'm here for them. I was supposed to be dead when I was 30 years old. I was supposed to be dead. I was going to die. That was my next choice. I didn't have a desire to stop drinking. I had a desire to just drink. And these steps, the guys that helped me, that sponsored me into this, they said, if you don't go to any lengths, you'll die. Do you see that? It was like, I had to see it. I mean, I'd done in and out, and you guys were still here. AA was still here for me, man. I couldn't believe it. It was unconditional love. It was a family that I'd never had. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was work these steps, you know, and I was living on a guy's couch, and it's all I had. And I had to get a desire to quit drinking. I had to, like, I don't care what happens. I had no vehicle. I had no money. I had no anything. I owed the IRS a fortune. Man, I was just a mess, and I could black out on a street, you know. To think that these steps, that's insanity. I had a woman who was ACA. She was very big ACA, and she was a therapist, and she'd been in the program for 12 years, and she sort of enveloped me in her arms and said to me, you know, you're supposed to be dead or in prison. That's insanity in your background, and to realize I had some I wasn't supposed to survive. And the love of you guys has done it, and the footwork with these steps, the guys who love me enough to help me do these steps, all of them. It's such a blessing to be able to hear people's fifth steps. God, that just happened this week. That's phenomenal. God, I've heard 2 now this week, and oh man, I can't tell you. I never thought I would ever hear anybody's fifth step. I sponsored so many guys, and they would, you know, okay, my life's unmanageable. I'm powerless over alcohol. You know, see you later. I have guys, oh, would you be my sponsor? And they build up to it. It's a big thing. And it's like, you know, they took some time in their nerves. They go, would you be my sponsor? You go, yes. And I go, here's my number. Call me every day. Great, yeah, okay. I never would see them ever again. I would never hear their thing again. I guess they just had to walk through that fear of talking to me. Or I don't know, or asking. I don't know what the point was. They were gone. It's a blessing to have people that want what I have. I mean, God, that's just remarkable. Who would ever want what I had? This last year's been phenomenal for me too. I mean, it's just miracles. It's all miracles. That's all I see. And I keep working the steps. I keep doing the, you know, the business, that show business stuff is so bogus, and I don't know if I can even do it anymore. I always wanted to be rich and famous, and just this year I realized I really don't want to be famous. It's a pain in the ass, you know. Everybody I know who's famous, it really doesn't enjoy it at all. And I don't know why. I just want to be rich, you know, which... And, you know, they don't want you to be rich in show business unless you're famous, you know? They hate it when you, oh, I don't want to be famous. They like, ooh, you know? They don't want what you have. It's like you have a mold growing on you. It's like, ooh, fame, and they're, ooh, you know? They want people magazines. So I don't know, and so I'm teaching myself how to write. I'm learning how to write. I've decided to go back to school and the computer, and I'm trying all kinds of things, and I'm finding out I have a life. I moved out to the beach. I'd lived in Hollywood the last 5 years trying to get it together and getting an agent and a manager, and I got to be okay in this business, and got all wound out and realized that I was like burnout, overworked, giving everybody my money. I was miserable, and I was out of touch with my program, and I hated everybody. And I finally woke up one day after a big stretch of meetings and said, I don't want these people in my life. I don't know how, not you guys, business people, how did I hook up with these guys? And I just called them all. I said, look, you're fired. And they go, well, we'll have to have a meeting. I said, what meeting? You're fired, you know. No, we better have a lunch at this and that. I was like, I'm not buying you another sandwich. Well, oh, I had a publicist. That was incredible. Last year I had a publicist, I had 2 agents, a manager, and no job. I was set, man. And my manager goes, oh, you got to get a cellular phone. Why? I go, you're the only people who call me back. And that's because I pay you. Why don't we save the $200 on my cellular? And I'll just show up and meet you when we need to talk. Why am I going to pay $200 to be ignored by the world in my vehicle? I fired everybody. I said, I'm not that famous. I don't deserve an agent. I don't even, what are you managing? What's to manage? What's to manage? This is bullshit, you know? It's like, what? I show up at a club, I tell a joke. What? They give me a check, and why am I giving you money? You know? And it was stupid. I was paying all this rent in Hollywood, and I said, I hate this. In order to go anywhere, I got to drive for 40 minutes. This is the dumbest thing in the world. And I it's cool, I'm paying for this car, and there's no money, and the IRS is still there. And I finally says, screw this, I got to get out of here, and I want to get to the ocean. And a friend of mine in the program said, hey, I know a friend who's selling a sailboat. And I went, wow, I've always wanted a boat. And it came up, and I said, how much is the boat? And I was like, well, I think it's a deal, you know, and geez, can I live on a boat? What would that is? How small is it? And I put everything in storage and bought a boat, and it was a deal. I was blessed. God came in and said, move on to a sailboat. You'll be happy. And I fired everybody, and it's like people call me on the boat. I get calls from like powerful people. How did you get my number? I'm on a boat. And they, well, you know, we called and tracked you down. We've been looking for you for that. Okay, and you show up and you do it's just, can I be of service to help them? It's not who I am or what the fame thing, it's all overrated. If I can be of service doing what I do, and I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. All I ever wanted to do when I quit drinking was to laugh on a beach, and God, I do that every day. I do it every day now. I go out, I walk out of there, I rollerblade. That's why I join a gym. It's like, no, I'm not going to join a gym, but look, I'm getting this butt. My legs are flabby. What am I going to do? Well, I got to come up with some lower body thing, you know. And I went and got rollerblades. I rollerblade out to the beach to laugh every day. And I look stupid. I'm 6'2". With the blades, I'm like 8 feet high. You know, I think I look like a stick match just whizzing down there. And it's hot, and I'm wearing nothing, you know. And people look out, here he comes. And you know, and I don't care. I don't care because I'm in shape again, you know, in my legs anyway, in my butt. And then washing the boat has gotten my upper body thing. It's the bending in the middle that I don't want to do. I don't know about you guys, but sit-ups are the biggest pain in the world. I don't want to do sit-ups. I won't do it. I got to come up with something during the day where I bend in the middle, you know. I got to end this. Stick around, Vandy. I don't know if it. I don't. Bambi, Vandy. I love you guys. I want to thank Marsh for asking me to speak. I don't know. I'm sure there's another guy who would have been much better. I don't. You're right. I was the best. So funny how my dysfunction has made me a living, you know, out of control ego. Anyway, I thank you people dearly from the bottom of my heart for everything I have today, and I have a lot today, and like I was saying, I am a millionaire. I have a millionaire's life. I have everything a millionaire has, man. I get a tan. I live on a sailboat. I got a vehicle. I have people who love me. I have a family I love. I have my own business, and I don't have to do all that ugly banking stuff that a true millionaire would. I've decided to be a millionaire without waiting for that stupid check. I hit the lotto with you people. That's why I consider AA is the lottery for me, and I hit, man. You guys, I hit. I don't even play the lottery anymore because I got it all. There's nothing, there's no amount of money, there's nothing in my life that would make it better. And I have you guys to thank in these steps, and thanks for letting me speak. Thank you, Evan.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.